different circuitry, different frequencies, different pattern. You can induce, you can mimic almost every element and induce it. So when someone's classified, let's say, as manic depressive, we can do that. We can make them happy for a day, and make them depressed for a day, and then the doctor will prescribe certain drugs for them, which will then do more damage to their body. But you can see why the population can't know about this. Let's just say everything I said is true. It would be the breakdown of religion. It would be anarchy. There would be no democracy. You know, everything.
Well, there are programs like this that have been declassified and been acknowledged by the government, like MK Ultra. They acknowledged that was real. Operation Northwoods.
Yeah.
They recognized that was declassified. There's things that are sinister that the government has done that they admit to, but nothing happens. A lot of people don't even pay attention to it.
Right. Until it happens to them, and then it's too late.
It seems like the MK Ultra that they were targeting also prisoners. In prison, big shocking. Obviously, we think of MK Ultra. There's people like Ted Kaczynski, Charles Manson. Who was the big mob guy? The biggest mob guy. Blanking on his name right now. All those people talked about how some of their contacts in the government information houses were giving them LSD. That's a real thing.
Yeah, it's a real thing. It's the masses introduced to the United States.
That's Midnight Climax.
Yeah.
That's another one.
Yeah, and Ted Kaczynski, he lived in my dorm at Harvard, not at the same time.
He was being experimented on at Harvard.
Yeah, and there was Project Moonstruck.
Project what?
Moonstruck. A stress program.
That's a terrifying story.
Wasn't it? And even the shooter in Vegas, he had FBI contacts, and that gets very hard. But there was the films that, for example, I was in a suicide bomber, and I showed up at Florida State. Years ago. Anyway, he didn't kill anybody. They shot people. He was deathly cut. He was a lawyer trained there, a successful black man, and same sequence, blender. And his reason why he shot up the school was he was publicity to make sure people understood this was real, it was happening. And so he mentioned my name. He never tried to contact me. But he gave out 7 packages in mail, and the FBI intercepted them to make sure none of the information was just information. So they held them to the news stories sort of went away. People just let everybody do that.
What was this guy's name? Myron May. And he clearly talked about having the same exact symptoms.
And he let the video testimony. And then the FBI eventually let it through the senders, the packages, and they posted it on the internet. So you can find his testimony unless Google's taking it down on YouTube. It's they don't work for the tax, basically. So
Scroll down.
it's great.
Library lawyer Myron May left a desperate voicemail for an acquaintance with his plea. I do not want to die in vain. The message was part of a flurry of emails, texts, phone calls in which the former prosecutor laid bare his torment. He believed government stalkers were harassing him and using direct energy to hurt him. He said that he had sent packages to 10 people that would expose what he thought was happening. That's
Is
crazy.
there maybe you remember short? He was a sawed-off shotgun that killed 13 people in Navy days. And he wrote on his webpage, which is they have no idea it's YELF, it stands for extremely low frequency, which the brain operates on, which will also promote the synapses as it penetrates it. So he was convinced that he was it creates such frustration. A lot of these shooters are trying to get this media attention.
What is this, Austin? Oh, okay. What do you think it would take for the government to, or for anyone responsible to be transparent and open about this?
I don't think they can be, because think of the atrocities and the lack of trust. I mean,
Lack of trust with the government.
yeah, well, I mean, even more so. That they're socially engineering, let's say, gun rights. Well, let's have all these spree killers go on shooting sprees, and then the response to that stimulus would be take away guns. It's a way to socially engineer. And so you say your government wouldn't do that. Well, they very much had long-term perspectives of how they want to shape the New World Order or shape a UN single government control.
A vast majority of, I'm not sure if it's all of them, but I know that a vast majority of these public shooters, these school shooters, they were on antidepressants and are slowly from pharmacological drugs to help them deal with depression, social anxiety, different things like that. Couldn't that be part of what is going on?
It could. I would have to see private psychology. When I told you, just because they're on drugs doesn't mean anything to me. I have to interview them and see if they do with it. It's called psychic tracking. The Spanish world psychiatrist who did brainwashing at Montreal University. I'm trying to come up with his name first. He called it psychic tracking. He's a really speaking I have depression. He'll play a two-tape loop. It's like the brain processes right now on the other end. I can't the scripts they use. I compiled a list of 1,000 negative things they say. And then I post them on Facebook and got away with it just because I put quotes up there.
They use this to break down the ego.
Correct. And so they did that while they were induced humans. They also talk about the brainwashing
For their own function.
so unconscious, and they keep them in the sleep, vegetative sort of sleep state. And I think it was probably in a delta or theta brainwave dominant state, so they can hear all this negativity. And I think they gave them LSD too. And they were just trying to and electroshock. So they were trying to wipe the brain clean so they could rebuild new neurons. It was funded by the CIA. The psychiatrist that was funded from them. And the woman sued, she won. But she lost half her life. Can't remember, had to learn how to pee again, speak again, everything. So brainwashing works. The reprogramming part is what's interesting.
And just to make it absolutely clear, I do not have a diagnosis of paranoid
So I have a psychiatrist. The only thing that he suggested as a diagnosis is adjustment disorder, which means that I'm adjusting to this torture.
At what point did you decide to see a psychiatrist?
Oh, at the very beginning, because I was actually hoping that it was a psychiatric disorder, because that's the way it can be treated. But it's not. This is I have to educate my psychologist on diseases and person. That's been physicians that take care of this psychiatrist and physician and Dr. Gerard in this situation. They're all on the same page. This is my diagnosis.
I just remember the brainwashing doctor's name is Dr.
Ewan Cameron.
Yeah.
And he's Russian?
No, he was American.
American.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And this kind of funding goes on all the time, and we often do it in other countries. Long list of human experimentation by the National Institute of Health.
I actually saw it right now this morning. My neighbor worked for Honeywell for 25 or 35 years, and I sort of briefly ran told him what I was talking to today on the podcast, and I talked about the data center, and he said, "Oh yeah, that's 100%." I was like, "I know about things like that, so I know on those weapons at Raytheon." He said,
I can't talk about that, but
"You can't talk about it, but you can confirm that
I
you
can confirm.
That's how for people like you, study artificial intelligence. What percentage of you guys are you guys doing that, or do you guys have aspirations to work for the military, work for the CIA, the spies? Like, what?
No, I was a scientist. I was in advanced surveillance equipment and other things. As a scientist, you just want to be working on cutting edge science. You don't, and you believe you're doing your country a favor and eventually be used for good. And that's part of how you get funding from the Senate for billion-dollar projects, because you have to have dual purpose, one for civilian uses and one for military. And we don't really think of the implications for the negative part. We just want to work on new cutting edge stuff. And it's also compartmentalized on the most part. So a lot of people don't know how they're putting together a bigger weapon system. They just work on a piece of it.
Isn't Facebook working on? Weren't they working on something called the empathy machine or something like that?
That's something I think I talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is that?
That is, if you can induce these emotions, touch, torture, whatever, in a way, it's kind of a beautiful thing. If you have a partner and they say something that hurts their feelings, you say something hurts their feelings, you get to feel how they're feeling, and vice versa. So if you punch someone, you're going to feel the same pain that they do. That's called the empathy machine. But now imagine if you go beyond 2 people. Let's go to 100 people. Every time someone stubs their toe, they all feel the same pain. It would feel like random torture to everybody. Well, who stubbed their toe?
I can see the first application, the most obvious thing I could see this thing going to is pornography.
Yes, yeah, they already have certain virtual machines for
right. If they could somehow if you could buy a subscription to some sort of pornography and make every single guy watching this thing happen,
Okay, now I don't know what I'm.
I mean, this is already being used. I mean,
if you talk to the victims, the TIs, one of the worst breakdowns, and it's pretty common. I think I can can say the word simulated rape in forced
You
orgasm.
can say anything you want. This is the internet.
Okay. And so simulated orgasms and rape is
Right.
extremely common, and
Right.
especially violating for women. They complain about that torture breakdown the most. But you're right. What's the positive use?
Where is it the most lucrative? Where is it
Yeah.
the most financially beneficial? Like, where can you make the most money in this thing? You think that would be the most obvious first?
That would be the first.
Yeah.
But think of the problem would have to be regulated because we know the 7 pleasure centers of the brain. And let's just say we don't have to stick in electrodes. We use ultrasonic helmet like the University of Arizona is doing to target certain parts of the brain. You just sit there and press the button all day.
Yes.
And over.
There's a story of a woman that. What's the story? There was a story of a woman who was in the hospital. Something was wrong with her. You may know, but she had a button. Every time she pressed it, it made her orgasm, and she was just doing it and doing it and doing it until she was basically a vegetable.
Yeah, you eventually quit eating, you die. So the government would have to step in to regulate this somehow. I don't think a lot of my research just focuses on the negative, the tortured people, the targeted, the breakdown. They're the most vocal, they're the loudest. But there is a classification weapon system called the Voice of God, and I've met some of these people.
A classified weapon system?
It's just the categorization called Voice of God weapons. Anything you can make someone hear, believe it's God.
And these are real.
Yes.
These are publicly.
There's Newsweek wrote about them.
Okay.
So it's been out for a while.
Voice of God weapons.
Voice of God.
Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
And so I've run into people randomly who believe they're talking to God. God doesn't have a voice, I don't think. I don't know what he sounds like, but they're convinced, and they'll do whatever this voice tells them. And that's the dangerous part. It's another form of trickery. God wants you to go on a killing spree, let's say. Some people would do that. You're one of God's army. So you can see how this broad swath all over the world, not only is it experimental, it could be very much a secret army of assassins. And so I call them program assassins. But the positive part of the voice of God, it worked in the Gulf Wars, Gulf War, when we said, Allah, lay down your arms. That's a voice of God weapon.
Okay. Is this, and you can't talk about, or can you talk about, this is something that you were involved with?
A little bit.
Who is Dr. Is this something that Dr. Jose Delgado talked about? Well, and who is he, and what specifically did he work on?
Dr.
Jose Delgado.
He was
Look him up, Austin.
He was known as the father of brain chips, and so he was from Yale University, and he did a lot of brain experimentation, stuff that is unethical and we wouldn't allow today per se. But we made progress of understanding the brain. He would actually wire up people. His most famous experiment was with a bull. He implanted bull with a radio frequency chip, and he could make a bull stop from charging by pressing a button. And that impressed everybody quite a bit.
Wow.
But that's using brain chips. And
where was he? Was he in the United States?
Yeah.
But you don't need chips anymore.
Okay, this is him with a bull.
Yeah, there he is.
Dr. Jose Delgado steps into the Spanish bull ring as a bold demonstration of his research.
A risky behavioral control demonstration.
Wow. And he was working with the government? He had a famous quote, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Let's see, you bring up the quote. Mankind does not have a right to develop his own mind.
Austin, pull up his quote. So what was Delgado working? What did he do? Where was he working from? Was he working in one of the universities?
Yes, he was working at Yale Medical School, and he would insert wires into people's brains, and you know, there's always two sides to the story.
Okay, here it is. Man does not have the right to develop his own mind. The kind of liberal orientation, this kind of liberal orientation has great appeal. We must electrically control the brain. Someday, armies and generals will be in control by electrical stimulation of the brain.
And that was in the 60s, I believe.
Crazy.
Whoa,
So
that's heavy.
we've come a long way since.
Yeah, I mean, if people were openly talking about that in the '60s, where are we now? And where are other nations like China and Russia and Iran?
We boycotted recently like over 100 countries from doing companies in China because they were working on mind control technologies. So, you know, it's very much out in the open, but it's just people don't want to recognize their soul, so to speak, can be touched. Their very ego, their sense of self can be altered.
It's not their soul. It's their personality. It's not their soul.
That means if you don't have free will or autonomy or
That's
choice, democracies don't exist. That means religions don't exist. That means a whole bunch of things. Markets can be shaped, moved up or down at will based on people's preferences. It's total domination of the world. That's how important and why it's kept so secret. I think it's the ultimate weapon, because if you can control the people with their fingers on nuclear weapons, you're one step ahead. So this is kind of the end game. Is full control of the human mind
And at scale.
at scale. That's right, of the world.